This program contains adult content.
Is there a God?
Big atheist.
Really?
What, am I an idiot? Come on.
That yes, it would be nice if you could throw your sins and your responsibilities on someone else. But it's not true.
It looks like far-left lunacy.
I don't believe that it's true that religion is moral or ethical.
You don't need to follow anybody!
It's not human intelligence!
If someone doesn't value logical consistency, what logical argument are you going to give them that will demonstrate that they should?
Please stand by. The Godless Rebelution will continue in a moment.
Are you increasingly split between pleasing a moronic voter base and corporate elites? Has a history of obstructionism and an utter lack of anything resembling a platform made you look impotent and weak? Is your core demographic rapidly dying of old age, all the while sunsetting into racist dementia?
You know, no matter how hard I think about it, I can't for the life of me think of a darn thing I've done in Congress these last couple of years. Well, except to pass a tax cut for the super rich. And don't get me wrong, shucks, they definitely pay for my re-election. And the nice lobbying gig I'll get when I finally leave office. But I need some red meat to get the voters to the polls, eh? Gosh, abortions and guns just don't cut it anymore. What will I do?
Well, now there's cancel culture. Cancel culture comes with a convenient two-step release that both inoculates you against responsibility for your past actions and attacks your enemies for holding you accountable in the first place. All I wanted to do is take advantage of impressionable young women by dangling career opportunities in exchange for sexual favors. I mean, come on! People have always done that. But now, with cancel culture, I can say I'm a real feminist because I offer women the opportunity to use all their assets to get ahead. That's right, cancel culture. Not only does cancel culture provide relief from attacks by progressives, but it also invigorates you for a 6 to 12 month speaking tour at far-right outlets. No one canceling you? Doesn't matter. Cancel culture might still be for you. Cancel culture's been great for me. All I need to do is say how I got rejected from media jobs I never applied for and definitely don't qualify for, but now I run my own media organization, the Daily Cable, for canceled voices. Millions of readers can see how I don't have a platform. Ask a Coyote News talking head if cancel culture is right for you. Results may vary.
All I've been trying to do is warn people that the chemtrails are turning the friggin' frogs gay. But the lizard people keep shutting down my channel. A man cannot subsist on dick pills alone. This is America!
Some hypocrisy may include Nike shoes, Starbucks cups, Freedom fries, Dixie chicks, Harry Potter, gay teachers at Catholic schools, single pregnant women at Catholic schools, nurses with OnlyFans pages, MSNBC, Campbell's Soup, Pepsi, Kathy Griffin, Hallmark, CNN, Climate Change, Teletubbies, CNN, Sesame Street, Evolution, recording slaughterhouse abuses, the New York Times, Republicans who impeached Donald Trump, John McCain, NASCAR, Sinead O'Connor, Food and Water and Voting Lines, Taylor Swift, Facebook, Janet Jackson, the BDS Movement, Procter & Gamble, Rolling Stone, Apple, Megyn Kelly, Harley Davidson, Greta Thunberg.
Rejoining the Godless Rebelution podcast now.
Hello and welcome to the Godless Rebelution. Today is Thursday, March 25th. This is episode 326. I'm Dan Ellis, joined by two awesome co-hosts remotely, Mr. Taylor Grin.
Hey, hello.
And Mr. Ryan Duffy.
Yes.
The mustachioed Lothario.
I know, I've been manicuring it here for the last half hour. Just getting it. Oh, so pretty.
Well, what's new with you fellers?
Honestly, not a whole lot. I've just been kind of relaxing this week because we're recording today, and then I go to work, and then when I get off work, we record again.
Oh, you're going to be at work until Wednesday?
Yeah.
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 Is that why? Are you just working overtime?
A shitty shift change.
Shitty shift change.
So we're changing shifts and changing stations. So I'm going from a Friday, Saturday, Sunday schedule to a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday schedule.
I'm sorry.
Sunday.
I have a a show tune playing in my head now. I'm thinking to myself, oh, my shitty work change. Shitty work change. I hate you.
Schedule. But yeah, so since Sunday is the first day of the pay period, I start my new schedule on Sunday, but my old schedule butts up against that.
Oof.
So I'm at work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'm at work. I'm gone. So I'm gone for the week.
Is it at least a good paycheck, or is it because
no? It's a normal paycheck. It's right, there's no overtime in it. It's just normal standard pay.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks.
That's not bad, Joe. Yeah. Sorry to hear that, man.
I made another axe today. That's about it.
Well, fun. Yeah. I'm just still working all kinds of crazy hours and had to submit a request to work even more crazy hours for another 2 weeks. The good news is that there is light at the end of the tunnel. We have a new person starting next week. This week I am in training as well as I'm in training all day and then still trying to keep up with my regular tasks that I was already falling behind on. So yeah, working crazy hours still. We'll be working crazy hours for the next couple weeks at least. And I'm hoping that at the end of the next 2 week period that I will be able to just go back, that I'll be able to go back to working, just between 40 and 50 hours a week. That will be nice.
I apologize for that loud noise you might have just heard because I tried to hit my mute button and then I sneezed and kicked my desk at the same time.
Good job.
I was looking at your cursor on the screen being like, cursor, I just got to go down.
Well, nicely done.
Yeah, I'm talented.
So yeah, I've just been busy with work and not much else. It's still nuts, but hopefully it will not be for much longer. What's new with you, Mr. Grin?
I am having a great fucking day. Part of the reason why we are recording on Thursday instead of yesterday, Wednesday, is because right as we started to record yesterday, Sandra got a call from a pharmacy in our town. And we were able to get the first dose of the Moderna COVID vaccine,
which is awesome. And it was interesting to me when all this went down, there was a very specific knock on the door and you guys prepared this code knock ahead of time.
Yeah. Well, she was like, cause she went around. So let me start at the beginning. There is this thing and you listener should try to do this, right? It's called the no waste list. So the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines must be stored at like a very, very low temperature. And what they do is they basically pull a vial out of that storage. And after the vial has been pulled out of that storage, it is only viable. It's only useful for like a certain amount of hours after that. And what they do is they just draw doses from that vial to inject in individuals who have had appointments to get their vaccine for that day. And at the end of the day, due to cancellations or just there being more fluid in the vial than anticipated, it's possible that they have extra and they would rather not just throw that away because it's a valuable resource. So what they do is if you've got your name on this no waste list, they will call you and say, hey, it's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon now. If you can get to us before, say, 6 o'clock, we have a dosage for you that you can have. Like, even though you are not one of the like 65 and older or healthcare professional or whatever that may be, right? And really all you need to do, and this may vary state by state, like our state only recently has allowed this to be the case. But call pharmacies in your area if you're not an individual who like readily qualifies, and every state has different like priority lists, like 1A, B, C, that kind of bullshit. Call your pharmacies, ask if they have a no waste list and see if it's possible for you to be added to that list. And they might call you at the end of the day and say, hey, if you're free, come on down. Like, we've got a vaccine. And that's what happened with Sandra and I. And so when she put us on that list, right, because she spent like a good hour reaching out to every pharmacy that was within like a 20-minute, 30-minute drive of our home. And she was like, okay, what happens if you're like in the middle of a record, and we get this phone call? And I was like, if that happens, us getting vaccinated is more important. Like, we will find another time to record so that I know what you're like doing. Cause normally she doesn't, I don't want to say bother me because that makes me sound like a fucking 1950s guy who studies in a den with a glass of whiskey, and like a gun in my desk. But no, like she just,
I'm in my smoking jacket. Can't you tell I'm into serious business right now? Go away, woman.
I'm wearing my smoking jacket. You don't talk to me right now. I'm bringing our son so I can slap him with his own belt. Like, yeah, no. No, she does her thing while I'm doing records. But I was like, if we get the opportunity to take this vaccine, just do like shaving a haircut on the door and I'll know what's up, and that come in after that. Like, that is more important. So yeah, you guys probably heard that. And I was like, love you guys. Can't do the show right now. I got shit to do. Hang up. And like, we got vaccinated. And I get the second dose in a month. So
it was interesting because we were just sitting here and I hear that very distinct knock pattern, right?
I heard it.
Yeah. And so it's shaving a haircut, right?
Yeah.
And everyone knows just to do the next, right?
Yeah.
And, but yeah,
so we hear that and you're like, guys, and we're just about to start recording, like within 30 seconds or so. And you're just like, that's a very specific knock that means something very specific. Yeah, come on in. And you kind of turned over your shoulder and she peeked her head in and she said, yeah, we got to go, but it's only like they close in an hour or something and we've got to go before then. And me and Ryan were both just like, go.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I'm happy to say, so I got the injection yesterday. And I didn't have like any side effects. Yesterday, Sandra had like some soreness in the area. Today, Sandra has like a lot of soreness, like in that shoulder where she got the injection. For me, it feels like kind of, if I was hanging out in the room and about 20, 30 feet away, somebody just like whipped a fucking golf ball at my arm, but like as if that had happened like 2 days ago. Right? Like that's the level of soreness I've got at the site. Like it's barely noticeable. And then I had like my least shitty hangover that I've ever had in my life was less was more shitty than like the level of like incredibly mild inflammation in like my soft palate and like upper throat is the only side effect I've had from that first dose. Like, well, I would do it again right now.
The bad news is you and Sandra are more susceptible to the, I guess, wider ranges of the side effects. Because it's like people in their late 20s to early 30s tend to be the ones that are getting like, oh yeah, I'm getting a small fever and the aches and pains for the 24 hours after the second one.
Okay. I mean, fine. It's not COVID.
Yeah. I only knew one. We only had one guy at work that ended up running like a 100-degree fever for a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, I had a headache with the second. The first one, I didn't have a headache. Second one, I had a bit of a headache. But yeah, it was gone within 10, 12 hours.
Right. And I've done headaches before. Like,
oh,
yeah.
It was more of an annoying headache, not like a debilitating headache. It's like, this is annoying. I feel pressure in my head.
Right. Yeah. No. Okay. I'm going to max out on ibuprofen for 24 hours and call it good. Like, yeah.
Rather do that than potentially die.
Get fucking COVID. Yeah. So my point is, dear listener, please reach out to pharmacies in your area. Ask if they have a no waste list. Try to get yourself on it. Be ready to go grab your shot, towards the end of like banking hours. And get fucking vaccinated. Do it. The faster that we get vaccinated, it's not just about herd immunity. We're getting variants,
no more variants
of the virus. Yeah. And variants can only happen if they can spread from enough people to have the possibility of mutations which occur through breeding cycles. As basic evolution. If you're listening to the show, I hope you believe in evolution. That's how this shit happens. You've got literally thousands, if not millions, of viruses reproducing themselves are going to have transcription errors, which means they're going to have mutations, and those mutations can be good for the virus. So the more that we can nip this shit in the bud, the less likely that is. The less likely that we're going to have to get more fucking vaccines in the future for variants that the current vaccine is less effective against. So just please do it. Try to get your family members to do it. Lead by example. Right. It's a lot harder for a family member to say, well, I'm not going to get this thing if they know that their grandchild or their nephew or whatever has done it. Just get it done, please.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tracy and I get our second shot on April 1st. It'll be we're not April Fool's Day shots.
Hopefully not.
Nice. And then I'm still on schedule. Obviously we'll have to do masks or something like that, but I'm still on schedule to come out and visit you guys. And from what I understand is that if you guys are already vaccinated and if we've had the first dose of the vaccine, like we should probably be okay to like be together for that kind of a thing. And the only reason go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, from what I understand with the Moderna vaccine, if you've had one shot already within 14 days of that first shot, you're like close to 50% covered.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And where both of you will have had your second shot.
Well, yeah, I've had my second shot and had the I don't know what you'd call it, the maturation period where it's done its thing in my body and it's already formed the antibodies. So the antigens have already entered my bloodstream. So
and I just want like people to know, like I'm trying to do the best I can to adhere to CDC guidelines, right? The only people I'm going to be visiting when I go on this trip are going to be people who have been vaccinated. And the only reason I'm taking a trip at all is predominantly because a very close friend of mine has been diagnosed with cancer. We don't know how long he has. So I want to see him, before he passes. Now, hopefully that's years from now, hopefully chemo works.
Well, you will be entering a state with no COVID restrictions.
I know. And that's why Sandra and I plan to bring a lot of like dry food. We're going to do everything we can to minimize contact with people. We're going to be staying at either hotels where we can be distanced or at people's homes where they have been vaccinated. We're doing everything that we can to exercise precautions, and we're driving. So we're not going to be stuck in a tube filled with 80 other people and, recirculated air. For an hour. So we're doing everything that we can to be smart about it. And that's what you should do too. It takes everyone.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to getting the second vaccine. I'm looking forward to seeing you when you come out here. I took the second off work because I've heard that for a lot of people, the second shot is the one that if you're going to have any kind of side effects or that's after the second shot is when you would have the worst side effects.
That's where it'll put you on your ass if it's going to put you on your ass.
Yeah. So I thinking ahead decided that I should schedule that day off because even if it's not me having side effects, it may be Tracy, and I would guess that she will because she felt like shit after the first shot. So I'm guessing the second one will be much harder on her, and so I'll be around to take care of her and the dogs and all of that kind of stuff.
Let me know if you need anything, if you need me to like DoorDash you guys anything or. Oh,
thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I need a lot of whiskey.
A lot of whiskey. They need to allow alcohol delivery here in Utah. I think
they do.
That is something that the time is now.
And I mean by postal service, so I can order booze online that they will not make available in this fucking state.
God. Yeah, dry states, man. But you know what? Don't legislate morality, right? That's what the Republicans say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they do it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it fits
They've been
if it fits what they want to do.
Canceling the shit out of my alcohol.
Yeah, yep. And transgender kids in sports. Those hyper competitive kids sports leagues.
Yeah. Or the abilities of homosexuals to adopt.
Or to get married.
Reading Harry Potter in school. Yeah. Something a little less serious. Yeah. But weird how the people who complain about canceling things so much tend to be the ones who cancel things so much.
Weird. Based on emotion, usually. I think.
Yeah. Or Iron Age religious dictates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But on that note,
maybe we should talk a little more about this.
I think that sounds like a fantastic idea. Yeah. You guys are awesome. I think we should do that when we get back from this little break.
That's a fantastic idea that formed totally organically.
This is Matt Dillahunty, and you're listening to the Godless Rebelution.
Hey, and welcome back. This is Chad Johnson from Coyote News. We are on the streets today trying to find from average Americans what's really impacting their lives right now. Let's see what a few of them had to say.
Well, you see, when I heard that Mr. Potato Head was being canceled, I was trembling in anger for a whole 3 seconds. See, I had a Mr. Potato Head when I was a kid. I mean, I hadn't thought about the toy for about 30 years, and I can't really remember if he had a wang dangle or not, but, I mean, I know who to blame now. The liberal commie cancel culture. I mean, thank you, Tucker Carlson, for making me aware of all this.
Okay, what? I was at the grocery store, flexing my rights by, walking around with no mask on because it's my right. Well, I heard that Dr. Seuss was being canceled. I couldn't believe it. Even though I never heard of those books, I was still pissed off. But, thanks to Ted Cruz, I now know it's part of the evil cancel culture agenda. I pray in Jesus' name that those Jewish space lasers can make America great again.
Well, as you've heard from the people on the streets, the average Americans, this cancel culture is a real problem.
Thank you to everybody who has rated the show on iTunes and Stitcher and are following us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And to all our Patreon patrons, you make the show possible.
So, I honestly think that cancel culture in America is as American as Quaker oatmeal.
As American as Quaker oatmeal?
Yeah. That doesn't really make sense. But did you know?
I thought you were going to say as American as apple pie, and when you went with Quaker oatmeal, I was like, oh, okay.
I went with Quaker oatmeal because this is about the pilgrims, Quakers, pilgrims. Potato.
They both wear funny hats.
But they canceled Christmas.
Who did? Quaker Oats?
The pilgrims.
Fuck those bastards.
The fucking pilgrims canceled Christmas.
The Pilgrims canceled Christmas. Oh, I believe I've heard of this.
They were so against Christmas to make a point of it. When they got to the New World, you know what they spent Christmas Day doing?
Work.
Building their first structure. They spent it working. And they actually passed.
If it's in the middle of winter and they're in New England, I can go.
That was in 1620. But in 1659 in the Boston area, they actually made it illegal to celebrate Christmas.
Okay, yeah, fuck them.
I think
Christmas is awesome.
Yeah, if memory serves,
until 1681.
Yeah, if memory serves, I included that bit of information when I did a little speechy talky thing for Atheists of Utah about canceling Christmas a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was actually an English appointed governor, Edmund Andros, who abolished that law in 1681, and it wasn't until about the 19th century that we celebrated Christmas. This actually says, as a matter of fact, before the Declaration of Independence was signed, Christmas was not widely celebrated in the U.S.
I'm atheist as hell, but Christmas was my favorite holiday. Like everything associated with it is amazing. I find myself missing Christmas until like spring.
But
I like Christmas too.
They canceled it because they didn't like the pagan origins.
Yeah.
They didn't like where it came from. They didn't like it. Like, nope, this is a new country. We're not going to celebrate those pagan things. So basically from an emotional and I guess a theologian's point of view at the time, they decided we're not going to celebrate that. It's wicked.
Well, I mean, the Puritans in particular, if I recall correctly, literally made it illegal to be single over a certain age and shit like that. Like, no fun, no dancing, no singing, no Christmas. Like, yeah, no.
I mean, their numbers were low. They were, I mean, from what I know about the Pilgrims, they kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
What do you mean they kind of fucked up?
They showed up here and didn't know what the fuck they were doing. No. The only thing they did that kept them alive was the fact that one of the pilgrims had smuggled tobacco seeds with them. And he found that tobacco grew extremely well in America. And at the time, there's only one other place you could grow tobacco legally. In England, we had to buy all their tobacco from them. I can't remember which country that was. But the growing of tobacco was illegal everywhere else.
Wow.
But this is a new world. Like, we're going to do what the fuck we want. Can't tell us what to do. So Mom's England was importing all their tobacco from their new colony that was kind of in a gray zone of, I guess, 1600s legal imports.
This is information Dan was unaware of until now.
Oh, yeah. Pilgrims made all of their fucking money growing tobacco.
When I get really tired, I talk about myself in the third person. I don't know why. It just happens.
You need another glass of one of these.
Ooh, good call.
Mm-hmm.
We're drinking some Basil Hayden bourbon tonight.
I've got Great Divide Colette Farmhouse Ale.
Nope, that's been canceled here in Utah.
Has it now? All right, I'm going to jump in here.
Okay.
So what you need to know, let me do the thinking for you. No, so cancel culture has been a big thing in the news lately again. And I think that a big part of it is because the Republicans are a minority party again. They spent their entire time in like the 2008, 2010 time period bitching and moaning about everything that the Democrats were doing. Because the Republicans tend to be the party of government doesn't work, elect me, and I'll make sure that that's the case, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so anytime Democrats get in office and try to do shit, the Republicans have to make it look bad or distract their voting base and give them some red meat. And cancel culture seems to be the most recent way for them to do that, right? And it's really just a rebirth of like the political correctness thing that like Gen Xers and Boomers will probably remember, and was like already fading when I was like coming of age. But yeah, so like it's a two-step
actually
process. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's actually a great point, that it used to be that they would, bitch and moan about political correctness and PC culture, and yeah, they've just rebranded it, and they're using new terminology for the same old bullshit
strategy.
Yeah.
Yep. And I read a really good article. I want to say it was from Salon, but it could be something else. I can't remember. Where the person was saying like it's a 1-2 punch, right? First, the Republican says something that is legitimately offensive. They wait for that to spin around for a couple of news cycles. And then as they get attacked by progressives, they say, oh, people are trying to cancel me for the thing that I'm saying that, was fucking egregious. And then like nothing actually happens to them, right? Like Republicans tend to exist in a self-contained ecosystem of media. It's not like Fox News or the Daily Wire are canceling these folks. The worst thing that may happen to them is that they lose Twitter followers, or if they've got a show, their advertisers might drop them because they don't want to be associated with the brand. And there's cases like the hulkish woman who worked in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
What's her name? She used to be an MMA fighter. Right?
Gina Carano. I can't remember what her Carano.
Yeah. She made a bunch of legitimately offensive statements trying to compare being a conservative to being a Jew in the Holocaust, which I'm pretty sure anybody with Jewish family is going to be very offended by that kind of statement. And so Disney elected to not renew her contract. And
that's the key right there.
Right.
Not renew her contract. She currently was not under any contract.
Well, and
really canceled. She just wasn't renewed.
Let's steel man the position, right? Like, let's pretend that, they said, you know what? We're done. Like, we're firing you, right? Okay. That's capitalism. That's the free market, right? That's the libertarian marketplace of ideas saying you have expressed an idea. I disagree with it. I'm not going to adopt it, right? Like, this is,
and I'm not going to continue paying you while you're making statements like that reflect poorly on my association with you.
Right.
And it's going to make our product do bad.
Yeah.
You would think the party of cake shops shouldn't have to make wedding cakes for gay couples would understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. They do. Right. I want to venture the argument that like this is purposeful. It's really frustrated me a lot lately to hear people doing analysis on like cancel culture and other hypocrisies of the right, because the right doesn't care about being hypocrites, right? Like if we try to argue against the things that they're doing on the basis of them being inconsistent with themselves, we're going to be blue in the face, and they're going to keep doing what they do because they don't care about being consistent. They care about doing that which is tactically and strategically viable. And for them, it's pitting themselves against an out group and rallying around an in group because that increases their solidarity. And I feel like that's not being talked about enough. Like, I feel like it's really easy to write a 750 word hot take article that says, look at all these times that, you know, conservatives have canceled other shit. And like, I get it. I've done it. But like, that's not the point. The point is, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I keep also hearing from people that are rather conservative that it's why are they folding to this small minority of people who get offended by this? Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's not a small minority.
Right.
If they're making business decisions based off of, hey, we might lose a lot of people that would normally view this content or, you know, be a patron of us, but this person might detract from that. We need to get rid of that. Like, that's going to make us lose money.
And the internet has changed the way that marketing products and having a user base, right, or a customer base functions. It used to be that when there was a limited number of like television channels or products available or what have you, that like, yeah, sure, you could lose 5% of viewers and be fine because the other 95% only had 3 or 4 other places to go. Yeah. But now, like, I can't watch anime on Netflix anymore. Like, it exists, but normally it's like a season or 2. Now there's an anime specific Netflix kind of thing, and that's what I have to subscribe to if I want to watch anime, right? There's Disney Plus, there's Netflix, there's Hulu, right? There's all these, there's HBO, right? And now I can only get content at each of those individual places. What the hell does this have to do with anything? Well, because people's interests are now able to be so narrowly capitalized upon. If you anger a small demographic for your particular product, that might be your whole ass demographic, right? If Disney puts out content that frustrates LGBT splat folks, that might be a considerable proportion of their particular customer demographic.
Well, especially when it comes to the TV show like The Mandalorian, which is like their flagship.
Yeah.
They probably have a lot of people subscribing to their service just for that show.
It was the most viewed online show up until episode 6 of WandaVision.
Yeah. And like we've mentioned before, us liberals aren't opposed to being like, fuck you. Just because this one thing you did, we're not going to take part in that anymore.
Yeah. Which is our prerogative. I mean, if you go back to pre-internet ages, right? If I live in a small town and I find out that there are, say, 2, fucking home improvement stores, right? 2 hardware shops. And I find out that one of the owners of the 2 hardware shops is an asshole. I go to the other hardware shop, right? And that guy loses my business. It's just that, but digitized, which means it's faster and it can be done more en masse. Like, that's capitalism. And like, I'm not a big fan of capitalism, but if you're going to play the game, follow the rules.
Yeah. I mean, there's reasons why I don't shop at certain stores.
Yeah. The only reason I have gone to a Walmart in the last 8 years is because their pharmacy had a COVID vaccine. That's the first time I've been in a Walmart in a long time.
Yeah.
I've always wondered why conservatives and Republicans have this hard on against, PC culture or cancel culture or anything like that. They always point to this, well, I should be free to say and do whatever I want, and there's a marketplace of ideas. And they express this belief and support for a marketplace of ideas, but they don't really want it to be a marketplace. Because in the marketplace,
want to make oblique racist references.
Yeah.
And to shut down people when they call out the accurate interpretation of those oblique racist references.
Yeah, they want to be able to dress in blackface for Christmas.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what it is it's a desire to absolve themselves of real accountability. And it comes down to that fucking Sartre quote again, right? I will fucking read it again. I'll do it again. You know what? I'm gonna never believe that conservatives, and I'm modifying in conservatives here for anti-Semites, never believe that conservatives are completely unaware of the absurdity of their replies. They know that their remarks are frivolous, open to challenge, but they are amusing themselves, for it is their adversary who is obligated to use words responsibly, since he believes in words. The conservatives have the right to play. They even like to play with discourse, for, by giving ridiculous reasons, they discredit the seriousness of their interlocutors. They delight in acting in bad faith, since they seek not to persuade by sound argument, but to intimidate and disconcert. If you press them too closely, they will abruptly fall silent, loftily indicating by some phrase that the time for argument is past. It's the same fucking shit every time. All that they do is try and make whatever terrible point that they try to make. And as soon as you call them on it, they get, Jello nailed to a tree and try to wriggle their way out of accountability for the positions that they argue for. Sorry for my fucking rant.
Yeah. Well, CPAC this year, they named it America Not Canceled or Uncanceled.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were railing on Mr. Potato Head and Dr. Seuss the whole time, neither of which were canceled.
Right.
They changed names and they no longer published a few books, and those were company decisions.
Yeah. And my point here, and I'm sorry for getting so angry about it, but it's that yes, they're being hypocrites. We as progressives and other progressives need to not be so laser focused on the hypocrisy and instead dig that layer deeper and continue to attack on the original offensive thing, because the cancellation bit is a distraction. It's a misdirection. And as soon as they've changed the argument from, well, liberals are canceling things instead of whatever original terrible thing that the person said, they've won, right? They've won because you're no longer arguing on your terms. You're arguing on their terms, right? It's go home, rent the movie, thank you for smoking, right? Watch that film, because conservatives are very good at manipulating an argument onto the terms that they want to argue on. And we've got to fucking stop doing it. We're so easy to distract with, oh no, you're a hypocrite. It's easy to score that point. And the conservatives will say, well, I guess I'm a hypocrite, but so are you. And now they'll start talking about something else. And you never get to address whatever bigoted thing they said about trans folks or minorities or whatnot, because now you've gotten sucked into an argument over free speech or boycotts or some shit. But we should probably cool down and take a break.
Well, we'll get shitty again. Don't worry.
Yeah, probably.
This is Dr. Hector Garcia, author of Alpha God and Sex, Power, and Partisanship, and you are listening to Godless Rebelution.
After waking up from 2020, have you noticed that some of your favorite things are now gone? Do you miss the sweet plantation-style breakfast from your Aunt Jemima? Or no longer have your favorite Indian to lust after on that tub of butter? Well, come on down to Old America, Florida, where freedom fries are always free. In Old America, we have 1,776 acres walled-off community that will make you feel like you live in beautiful Jim Crow America, where nothing is canceled. All our residents are red-blooded white Americans that don't get offended. Our 50-foot-high walls make it so there is no distraction from the outside. Come on down to Old America, where America isn't canceled yet.
If you have questions, comments, concerns, compliments, corrections, criticisms, or concepts for content, contact the show via email at godlessrebelution@gmail.com, by text or voicemail at 330-81-REBEL, or Twitter the Twatter at TGR Podcast. Thank you!
All right, so I want to start off this ending segment talking about some of the ways in which I've noticed conservatives and religious people and Republicans doing this as just a bullshit tactic to employ to distract from all kinds of things. And I've noticed that often shit like this is employed to distract people or change the subject from something shitty that a conservative or religious person or Republican has done. And so it takes the form of kind of a whataboutism, but they shift it into, well, what about this person who did something, or what about this person who's being attacked? And it's just a way to shift the narrative away from some other bit of awful news that's going on with their team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've spent a lot of time studying Steve Bannon. I did that couple episodes for you guys, a few years back now. And one of the things that Steve Bannon has said is, if you're explaining, you're losing, right? If you can get the other side to defend themselves, then they can't put forward their own propositions. And it's something that the Republicans have gotten really fucking good about, because they don't want good government to function. And progressives depend on an agenda of progressing things, which takes action. And so every time that we spend airtime defending ourselves against some Republican complaint is time that we lose, that we could be spending talking about the positive things of our goals. Even like take last week's episode, we spent so long explaining about like that atheists are moral too. But how often do we do episodes where we talk about like the good things that atheism does for society, right? Like the benefits of having an atheistic life as opposed to a religious one, right? But we spend so much of our time on our heels on the defense that we don't get to put our best foot forward. So I don't know. I mean, I just think that that's something that we need to consider as a matter of strategy.
Yeah, I think that's a great point and very well stated, that we don't often get to promote the things that we do in order to benefit and to better and improve society. We don't get to talk about those things very often because we're constantly talking about the shitty things that the other people are doing that are stifling our efforts or hampering our efforts, making it much more difficult for us to get things done.
Yeah. And I mean, it almost makes me feel uncomfortable to use the term, but like, I think that humanism could use a little bit of evangelizing, right? Like all of the best parts of humanism are also the best parts of any organized religion, because they're the parts that are true regardless of whether or not they're religious. Treating people as they ought to be treated is just a good human thing to do. Giving your time or money towards helping people who go without is just the good human thing to do. Muslims do it, Christians do it, Hindus do it, non-religious people do it. It's not something special that religion has.
It sounds like socialism.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Caring for your fellow human is a societal thing, a social thing.
Construct.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe we should be doing that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, and it's not to say that, religions or religious people haven't led to good things happening, right? You can't say that religion hasn't contributed to any good at all, or that, any particular religion is all bad. But when you look at the bad things that come from religion and religious thought versus the good things that come out of it, well, it's easy to see that you can still do those good things without having the religion tied to those good things.
Right.
You can still do those good things without the religion.
People like Galileo created great accomplishments despite their religion, right? And then things like the Sistine Chapel, right? The Sistine Chapel is a beautiful work of art. Another Renaissance painter, Leonardo da Vinci, probably wasn't all that religious and did beautiful things himself. Oh yeah, very probably gay. And it is possible to imagine Renaissance paintings coming from a humanist and secular origin. In fact, oftentimes that artwork is considered to be humanist because it was the first time in hundreds of years that artists started depicting humans as they were, as opposed to how they were idealized or ought to be.
You want a funny, hopefully, fact that I had heard about the Sistine Chapel?
Yeah, sure.
He got most of his references for the artwork of the faces and the people from sitting at the pub. So a lot of them were prostitutes and drunkards that he was getting his, inspiration for drawing different people from. So it's quite possible that the top of the Sistine Chapel is filled with whores.
Fantastic. Good. Good.
And drunkards.
Yeah. Well, and like, I know much less about Michelangelo as I do Da Vinci, but like Da Vinci would draw normal people in his notebooks. In particular, he was really interested in people who were not meeting like the physical ideals of the day. And that was unheard of during that time period. Which massive tangent, but like, I really do think in light of this, in light of all this discussion of, cancel culture bullshit, is that, there is a movement, right? However organic it may be from the right, to get us to stop talking about the good things that progressivism is capable of, and instead to try and make us focus in on our flaws. And like, again, I sound like a broken record on some of these points, but like Thomas Smith, member of the atheist community, has a really great quote. He says, people on the right get social credit for attacking the left, and people on the left get social credit for attacking the left. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's really easy to be the punching bag, and we need to stop. We need to like take pride in the fact that because, we were able to get a slim majority in Congress, the 1.9 trillion plan that is going to significantly improve the economy got passed, right? People got checks. Like, Dan, your job helped people pay the rent this month,
And what do conservatives argue on that? Well, where are the jobs? I haven't seen any new jobs yet.
Right.
Like, it just fucking passed. Yeah. Things take time.
Yep. It was the running joke, at least in like the deep parts of the internet where I hang out. Every single time a controversy would happen with Trump, so 2 or 3 times a week, people would say, "Oh, it's infrastructure week again," right? Because the Trump administration was constantly trying to say, "Oh, it'll be infrastructure week, and we're going to talk about this infrastructure bill." Mm-hmm. Now there's talk about a real ass infrastructure bill that will fix the broken bridges in this country and enable New Deal style jobs programs that will put people to work.
It worked before. There's no reason why that shouldn't work again. Yeah. And this recession is even worse by the numbers than that one. So
and they're talking about all kinds of fantastic things that are in this upcoming package, right?
Universal pre-K.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know how many people that'll be able to put back out into the economy, like working, how many families that'll raise out of poverty?
Oh, yeah. Well, and even with the stimulus bill that was just passed, there are, I've seen reporting where they just put out this call for people to send them information about how receiving this stimulus money will change their lives. What will it do to help them? And I would say that for more than half of them that responded that I read, it was a life-changing event for them. It brought them out of poverty. It made sure that they didn't lose their house, that they were able to buy groceries, that they could go out and actually buy the prescriptions that they haven't been able to purchase, that they can go and see a doctor, that they've been able to get dental work, they've been able to care for their pets, like all kinds of basic human things that these people are now getting because they just needed a little bit of help. And it wasn't that they're going to continue getting this money over and over and over again, but this lifted them out of desperate situations.
Mm-hmm. Sandra and I, we donate every year to an organization called Modest Needs. Mm-hmm. And what they do is somebody comes to Modest Needs and says, like, if I don't pay this month's rent, I'm going to get evicted, and that's going to cause, me to lose my kid to CPS, or that'll cause me to lose
cascading
my job.
Failures.
Right? Yeah. Or like, I need a tire for my car because my job is 30 minutes away and there's no public transit in my town. If I lose my job, I lose my rent, yada, yada, yada. Right. So it's what Modest Needs is made of is these people who need to make like one payment. And that one payment is a difference between like where they are and utter desperation. Right. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing that they do is rather than just giving that person the cash, right, they pay the bill, right? So they say, all right, show us that bill that you have. And then they take the funds that they get for donations and just pay the fucking bill. And it's shown me over the years, because we've made donations to this organization, how many people, but for $200-300, their life is totally different, right? Like a radically divergent course between, homelessness and, scraping by, but life as is. And it's wild to think that anyone would not want to just spend a little bit of money to help people out. And like, that's what the government should be for. Sandra and I will not have kids, right? But we understand that like a good life for kids is a good thing. One of my favorite parts of the COVID relief bill that came out was a short-term change to the child tax credit. And it increased the tax credit, and it made it so that some of that tax credit is paid up front. So now families are going to be getting roughly like there's modifications based on the age of the kid and that kind of thing, but roughly $300 per month per kid in cash rebate that now they can spend to, keep that kid in daycare, right? Make sure that kid has, new clothes as opposed to, old shitty threadbare clothes or, another meal. There's so many kids that depend on school lunch for a second or third meal of the day. Like this is what government is supposed to do, is to make sure that the needs of the many are fulfilled. And I'm tired of conservatives trying to act like everything needs to be just, neo-feudalist capitalism, where if you don't make enough to get by, go fuck yourself. Like, no, we as a society need to do better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're absolutely correct. We don't have a whole lot of time left, but I want to go back to cancel culture a little bit to just,
I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're totally fine. But I want to talk about just a little bit, or I want to talk a little bit about, what is cancel culture in the minds of a lot of these conservative people, because not a single one of them that I have encountered to date has been able to provide even one instance of what they believe to be cancel culture gone wrong, right? Anytime I see somebody bitching about cancel culture, I ask them, okay, well, what do you think is an acceptable level of N-word usage or anti-Semitism or, general racism or hate against the LGBTQ community? At what point do you think it is unacceptable and that there should be consequences for this? And please give me an example of where you think somebody has been canceled and should not have been, and then defend that position. And not a single fucking one has been able to do that yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
I mean, that's where it's like, what is cancel culture? What does it mean to be canceled? I mean, to me, if you say, oh, it's been canceled, it's gone. Like if you cancel a TV show, there will be no more seasons of that made, which is completely different than changing a name on your product. It's not canceled. You can still get that product. They have just made a decision based on sometimes social pressure, which if there's enough social pressure from a majority of people to change it, it's not just a minority. People are like, no, we need to change this. And if it's that many people, it's going to affect their bottom line. It's like, yeah, we'll take that off of our product. We'll change our name. Well, or it could be case of Dr. Seuss, books that weren't selling well. There have been many Dr. Seuss books that have been taken out of print. These happen to have putting humans in a zoo, but
well, it's one of those things that, kind of as a management principle, I've always said and have always reported to my higher ups as, I'm not just going to come to you with a problem. I'm going to come to you with a solution. Like, this is what I see going on. This is what needs to happen to fix this. And so I encourage everybody that if you see somebody bitching or whining about cancel culture, ask them what they think should happen instead. This person was caught using the N-word on a hot mic, what should happen to them? And do you think it's acceptable that they are using this on a hot mic? If the mic hadn't been on, do you think it would be perfectly fine for them to say that? And if so, why? Like, defend your position instead of just bitching and whining and complaining about cancel culture gone wrong and I can't do anything and people don't even believe in free speech anymore. Tell me why you think that's acceptable.
And well, and whoever has that hot mic situation, they're not just representing themselves. They're representing an organization, a company, an athletic team. So it's not just the fallback isn't just going to fall back on that person. Mm-hmm. And if they don't do anything, it is definitely going to fall back on that team or that organization, which will affect their bottom line. And after all, we believe in making money in this country above anything else. So,
and I want to pitch in just one thing here, right? Because it is, it's easy to plug against the right. And I kind of extremely briefly want to talk about the circular firing squad on the left, right? Mm-hmm. Because I know a lot of my peers on the left where I was previously wrong on transgender issues, right? And one of two things could have happened to me, right? My transgender friends and my ally friends could have just said, go fuck yourself, right? Or they did what they did, which was patiently guide me into a better understanding of issues that I was misunderstanding, right? And it is so easy to score points against even your own side for not being woke enough. And for the people who have the mental health and the space to gently guide their friends into holding better, more tolerant positions, do that. On the other hand, if you are in a position where you hold outdated, harmful views and people are being impatient with you, you need to be aware of a phenomenon called sea lioning, which is when bad faith people ask questions of good faith people, not wanting to hear the answers, but wanting to waste their time defining terms and shit like that. Mm-hmm. And what happens is a lot of folks who are at risk, positions, especially trans folks, get so much of their fucking time wasted about well, isn't it okay if I just call you they instead of your preferred pronoun and shit like that? And what it does is it just stresses them out and wastes their time. And so some folks are not going to have the patience to talk out things with you because they've done it time after time after time. So it's going to take patience amongst the left from both sides. Put your best foot forward. Try to learn new things. No one is obligated to give you the time to teach you new things. Find it out on your own first, right? And that's how we stop this left versus left concept of canceling each other for not catching up fast enough. And I think that's important to note as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And while you were speaking, that made me think of a couple more things real quick. Just that when I hear people complaining about this, it's that they're expressing a fear, right? They're afraid that eventually they will say or do something and will be quote unquote canceled, right? That's mm-hmm. their motivator for talking about this in the first place is fear.
Yep.
So are they afraid that they can't not be an asshole to somebody? And if that's the case, I have yet to see the case also where somebody has said something that was harmful or hurtful, been called out on it, and then has apologized and been able to move on, right? That happens all the time. It happened, mm-hmm. It's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to you, Ryan, to you, Taylor, where you do something to hurt somebody or you say something that isn't quote unquote politically correct and somebody points it out to you. And then you have a choice. You can either apologize and move on and do better. And most people do that all the fucking time. Or mm-hmm. you can act like a lot of conservatives or some people who used to be on the left and have been red-pilled and have mm-hmm. done something that has harmed the community that they represent and initially tried to issue a half-hearted apology or whatever, and then later decided, no, fuck that, I'm going to say and do what I want, and then I'm going to whine about being canceled because I'm an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a very dear friend, and just because, literally I moved, right? I have not seen her in person since she transitioned. And it terrifies me to think that I might accidentally dead name her, because my mental impression oftentimes still is of her before transition. But that doesn't, like, I don't think to myself, oh, well, fuck cancel culture, right? Because it would be wrong for her to be mad at me if I slipped up. It's a reminder to me that I need to make sure to be better. And I think that for some people, it's easier to change the world than it is to change you.
Yeah, that's perfectly stated. That's awesome. I think we should end there. Yeah, that was great. Before we go, though, I want to make sure that we thank our Patreon supporters, because you guys keep the show going. We talked a little bit offline, the three of us, that, you know, we're not in this to make an income or anything like that. And we love all of our Patreon patrons. We really appreciate you guys contributing to the show, but it's not because we want to make this our main thing that we do for a living. It's to just make sure that we have a means of paying to keep the show going without paying for everything out of our own pockets, right? We don't want to have to pay to continue producing content for everybody else. And so we really appreciate all of the help and support that we get from our Patreon patrons. That would be
Alan Firth,
Stephen Andrus,
Trisha Weir,
Two Skeptical Chaps,
Vanessa,
Don't Be a Richard,
Ollie Olson,
Christy Kalbach,
John McCullough,
Tiffany Hudson,
Sinead Duffy,
Steve Kuno,
Utah Outcasts,
Wesley Aaron,
Andrew Vodopich,
Jeremy Goodson,
All Hail Peanut Butter,
Jeff Peterson,
Corey Ebert,
Megan Mitchell,
Freethinker 215,
Tim Jacobson,
Janet Uter,
Savid Acuna,
Avocado the Cat,
James,
Purple Dragon,
Nico Gonzalez,
Chad Pryor,
Patreon customer service sucks donkey balls, and a high roller patron, Hunter Grin, my younger brother.
Woohoo! Thank you all so very much. That's awesome.
Yes.
2 new patrons this week. I think that's fantastic, and I appreciate you all so very much. If you, dear listener, would like to become a Patreon patron, you can do so very easily by going to patreon.com/GodlessRebelution, where you can contribute as little as $1 per episode. And then you get all kinds of fun things like extended outtakes, stuff from the cutting room floor, bonus episodes. You get the episodes earlier than everybody else. Lots of fun stuff.
We need to start coming up with some Patreon exclusive content going forward. Like once things relax on your end a bit, we need to definitely start doing a bit more of that.
Yes. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
I'll look forward to talking to you guys again next week.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Get vaccinated. Go do it. Sign up for the no waste list. Call out to local pharmacies and try and get on that if you can. Please. We can all do this together.
Yeah, get your ouchie. No, I fucked that up. Your Fauci ouchie. Yeah, fuckers.
Hello and welcome to the Godless Rebelution. Today is Thursday, March 25th. This is episode 325. No, it's not. This is episode 320. Shit, I'm going to start over. Fuck it. God damn it.
We'll do it live.
Well, I didn't start the timer anyway. And let's do, okay. I'm going to, fuck.
All I've been trying to do is warn people that the chemtrails are turning the friggin' frogs gay, but the lizard people keep shutting down my channel. A man cannot subsist on dick pills alone. This is America!